We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll just wait a few seconds, a minute or two for folks to join us. Good evening, good evening. So we will just wait a couple seconds. It's a slight delay, so we'll wait a couple seconds before we officially start.
Come on in the
Good
building,
evening.
children.
What'd
I
you
said,
say?
come on in the building, children. That's what they say. Come on in the building, children.
Come on in. Come join us. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to KAMDI Candid Conversation. We
Wow.
will start in just a few seconds or in a minute or so. Just give people a chance. I know we're a little delayed. Welcome, welcome. For those that are joining us, please click on the StreamYard link at the top of the post so we can see your name, so Glenn can see your name. And if you would tell us where you're from, just say hello to Glenn. We know who Song King is. Hey, I'll give an official. He says howdy. You know who that is, right, Glenn?
Sound
Oh, you don't. Song
song
King.
king. He said howdy.
Do you know who that is?
No. No, no, no,
It
no,
is.
no, no, no. Is that James Day?
Yes, it is.
Hey,
Yes, it
James
is.
Day. Hey, Song King.
Yes, we can see you. We can see you, Song King. Okay, let me officially welcome my friend here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to KAMDI Candid Conversations. And of course, this is a very special one for me because I have my good friend here tonight, the Grammy nominated producer, the Stellar Award winner, the singing man, not singing, singing man, the unsung alumnus, Mr. Oh, and the ambassador of love. Let me not forget the
Ah,
ambassador of love,
yeah.
Mr. Glenn Jones.
Hey,
Yay! Thank
thank
you,
you, Tanya.
Glenn.
Thank you, thank you. It's nice to be here with you today.
Thank you. It's
Yes.
it's so nice to have you. Of course, always is. I feel like I haven't even seen you myself in a while because we're on lockdown,
Oh,
everybody. So
yeah.
so we are so excited to have you here this evening. We're going to chat a little bit, talk about a few things. We've got people joining us. If you are joining us and saying hello, let us know where you're logging in from. Tell us what city you're in. And I'll be reading the questions and comments to Glenn. John Cunningham says hello. Mr. Keith Calvin, hey Keith, says
Hello.
hello.
Yeah.
Lynn Thornhill, my dear friend. Hey, Glenn Jones, I
Hey,
made it. Yes, she made it. I was talking about her because so she better come tonight.
right, right, right.
uh, Kay Nikki Thomas. Okay, she says the king of the Nao. Okay, Facebook user. I don't know what that means. Maybe you do. So if you could please, in case says hello, click on the link at the top, everyone, so we can see your name. Otherwise, we won't be able to see your name. You have to get StreamYard permission so we can see who's commenting. Because some of you are just says Facebook users. So thanks for joining us. The numbers are growing. We're going to go ahead and officially get started. So I always like to start, Glenn, at the beginning. It's always interesting to find out how people actually started this wonderful career called the music business. So take
Again,
us back.
again. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Let's go back to the very beginning and tell us how this all got started. How'd you start singing? How you began this journey?
Well, when I was just a wee of a lad, uh, at my mother's knee, I started singing in church because my mother was heavily involved in the church. She was an evangelist and a missionary, and she compiled the what we call the Sabbath school lessons because
Mm,
she was superintendent of the Sabbath school. So that meant that I had to be at church every Saturday morning, probably around 8:30, because we had to pass out the hymnals and the Sabbath school books and all that. So um, I started there. I started singing in church. I discovered that I could sing when I was about 5 years old, and eventually my mother she started to campaigned for me to get a chance to sing in church and sing at the conventions and everything. And she started taking me to Philadelphia and Detroit and wherever we were going, to commune with the our fellow church members, and that's where it started. And I started singing with a group from Jacksonville called the Bivens Specials because they came to my church. I was a member of a church called the Holy Church of the Living God, and they would come on Sundays. We would have different special programs on Sundays because we worshiped on Saturday. And they came and I opened up the program for them one time, and they heard this little guy with this big voice. And the next thing I know, they would come into my mother's house and asking my mom, could I sing with them? Of course, my dad was like, a little apprehensive about it, but mom had a way with convincing him. So yeah, yeah,
Okay.
she knew how to connect with him. So I started singing with them, and I was the youngest kid in the group. It was a group of it was a mixed group of male and females, and they were like older than I was, and we ended up traveling all over the United States, opening up shows for all of the great gospel singers at that time. The Mighty Clouds and Shirley Caesar and the Five Blind Boys and the Dixie Hummingbirds and all those people. And I kept doing that until I got around the age of 14. My mother said, you can't sing with them anymore. We're going to help you put your own group together. So my mother and my father and my brothers, they got together and they acquired some transportation for me, bought some instruments, bought a trailer, and my brothers were on the road with me as my managers. They took me everywhere. And I did that until I met James Cleveland, and he signed me to Savoy Records. I was about 17 years old at that time, and he got me a deal to Savoy Records. He produced my first album. I did, I think, 4 duets with him on that album, but I actually wrote most of the record, when I was 17 years old, and I recorded it in Los Angeles at Ray Charles' studio. And then I did a second album for Savoy. And by that time, Norman Connors came along and he heard me sing and he heard the songs that I was writing and he wanted to meet me and he was interested in featuring me on an upcoming album. He had an album.
Okay. Don't go into that part yet, Glenn. I want you. I'm say that. Hang on.
Anyway, yeah, okay. Anyway, you have to stop me because it's
yes.
like when I start telling the story, it's
I know.
I told it a million times, so I just roll out with it, But that
I know. So let me pause you.
Okay.
On that part. First, let me ask this question. So, how long were you with the Bivens Specials? What age were you? Did you start with them?
Yeah, I would say I was with them from the age of 9 until I was 14, from 9 to 14.
And so you basically were on the road as a child.
Yeah, during the summer.
So what was that like? You were a child and you were on the road. What was that like for you?
It was exciting because, I always loved to travel. That's one thing that I think I inherited from my mother, because even when we weren't, attending church conventions, I had 6 brothers and 2 sisters. So we would get in a convoy and just travel. We might go to Chicago, we might go to Canada, we might go to Detroit, we might go to Philly, we would go everywhere, So but when I got a chance to travel and do music at the same time, and we had chaperones,
Okay.
Yeah. That was the convincing part of that allowed my mother to say, okay, So and she just said, I'm putting you in God's hands, He got you.
Okay.
So, and it was great.
And so, and you kind of skimmed over the part about James Cleveland. So that was in James Cleveland's heyday. He was one of the biggest names out there. What was it like for you? Do you remember when you first met him? What was that like? How did you feel about that?
Well, I had seen him before because the group that I was singing with, the Bivens Specials, the founder of the group, her name was Inez Bivens, and she was also a concert promoter. So some of the acts she used to bring to Jacksonville and present them herself. So she booked James a couple of times, and I'd seen him, but I didn't really get a chance to know him. And when I did connect with James, it was at a time that I had a manager from Lakeland, Florida. His name was Ben Middleton, and he was a great guy, and he knew James Cleveland, and he was the one that made the connection and convinced James to let me and my group come to his house up in Hollywood Hills, a beautiful house. I'd never seen anything like that, and he convinced him to let us come up there, and we got around the piano, and I started singing, and that's how he decided that he wanted to, present me to Savoy Records to get me a record deal.
Okay. And so I just want to make sure I'm covering all my points with this part so when we get to Norman Connors. Let's clarify something, because when your unsung episode came out, there was a lot of questions or misinterpretation, I would say, about what happened when when money wasn't given to you and that kind of thing. And people thought you were saying that James Cleveland did that, but it was not James
No,
Cleveland.
no.
Um, can you talk about that just a little bit to clarify for those who are unsure about that part?
Well, it was not James. He gave me an opportunity to pursue my dream, and to have someone of his magnitude give me that shot to record a record, record songs that I had been writing ever since I was 14 years old. That was amazing, and he taught me a lot about, presentation, how to even when even down to the optics. When you guys go out on stage, you got to make sure that y'all, you guys are tight. You look good, you sharp, you this, you that. All of that. It wasn't that he did anything like that. It was the record label that took from me what was taken. It wasn't James.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was very nicely put, Glenn. Okay. Let me read some of the comments just so we know. Eric Haley, Atlanta is here. Gwen Bradley from Kentucky. Gina Clark Gudger from Florida. People are just naming songs. I guess it's their favorite. Show Me, and here we go again. That's from Sam Dickerson Codes. Tamiko's here. Tamiko, you remember Tamiko, our social media and brands strategist is here.
Yeah. Hi, Tamika.
Yes, hello. Hey, Tamiko. Ramona from Farmington Hills, Michigan. I am a fan for life. I have everything you put out. I just want to say thank you for sharing your beautiful voice with the world.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramona, for joining us. Melancholy Fire will always be one of my favorite songs. That's K. Nikki. Oh, there's Luther. Hey, Luther. Luther is the founder of the Fans of Unsung page and my partner in crime, Mr. Luther. Hey, Luther. He says, hello, Glenn. Welcome,
What's up,
Glenn.
Luther?
Okay, we are caught up, I think. Yep, we're caught up with the comments. So everyone, if you have questions, please post them. I will be happy to read them to Glenn, and he'll be happy to answer them or any comments you have. So we're going to move up. So now we get to Norman Connors. Norman Connors heard that voice. Yeah. Take it from there, Glenn. Go ahead.
Well, he heard the album. I recorded a second album on Savoy Records. The album was entitled Feel the Fire. And again, I had written all of the songs, and really, now that I look back, I love that album. It's a great record. I'm going to go back and re-record some of that stuff, from my album. But he heard, my vocal, and he was impressed by that, and he wanted to feature me on his upcoming album. He had an album called Take It to the Limit. At the time, he was on Arista Records. And he had, a few other artists that he presented on the record. He had a young singer named Ada Aretha. Not Aretha Franklin, but Ada Aretha, who was from New York. And I think he released the first single on her. I think it was You Bring Me Joy that he released on her. So when he came back to do the second single, he released Melancholy Fire. And the record just jumped out, just took off. And that was when I started to get interest from different record labels, and people were calling, inquiring about signing me to their labels. And I ended up going with RCA. And that was mainly because of getting the opportunity with Norman, Captain Connors, as we call him,
Okay.
And back in the day, like a lot of his album covers, he was on a boat sailing, cruising or something, with his captain's hat on. Either he was on
Oh,
the beach, on the beach riding a horse, and so we call him Captain Conyers.
I remember that one with the horse, that white horse. I remember that
Yeah.
cover. And Melancholy Fire, for those of you who are not familiar, just go listen to it because that's that song still makes the hair on my arm stand up. I absolutely love that song. And I think it could be a hit today, Glenn.
Well, I've started to put it back in my show. I had sung that song for years.
Yes,
I remember when the record first came out, I would go out, on dates with Norman, and a lot of the women, they were disappointed because they thought it was Norman Connor singing. Like, nah, that's Glenn Jones singing. I'm just featured.
that's right.
Yeah, I'm just featured on that record. But Melancholy Fire was the very first R&B record I ever did. I had never done R&B, and I was a little apprehensive about it. I was like, should I? I don't know. I don't know.
Let's talk about that, Glenn, because there's a lot, a lot of people don't understand what it took to transition from the gospel music to secular music. Tell us a little bit how that worked out for you, and did you get some, kickback from it, or what happened with that, and
Well,
with your mom?
yeah, I mean, particularly, back in those days, and because of the kind of church background I had, Pentecostal was very strict. There were so many things that we couldn't do, man, and particularly being a Seventh-day Adventist Pentecostal, like come sundown Friday evening, you better turn that television off. Ain't no listening to the radio, ain't no going to the movies. There's none of that. Get in there and get your Bible and study your lesson. And
Mm-hmm.
it was more so my concern, as far as the feedback that my mom was going to get, because of who she was, and I was really concerned about that. But when I heard the song Melancholy Fire, I told Norman, I said, well, just let me sit with it for a couple of days because he flew me out to California, and put me up in a condo. And I was just out there for a week or so, just trying to get acclimated. And I thought about it, and I took a pen and I rewrote the verses to it so it could be more in
Okay, I didn't know
the middle of the road way. Yeah, more in the middle of the road kind of thing,
that.
inspirational
Okay,
kind of thing. That was my way of kind of taking the pressure off of myself.
how about changing those lyrics? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I changed the lyrics, but it was a beautiful song. You got the Jones Girls singing background vocals on that. They killing. I got a guy named Al Johnson. He used to be with the Unifics. He was an amazing arranger. He arranged all of the string parts. And actually, Gene Kahn worked with me on my vocal, producing my lead vocal.
Wow, we had some great names. And you said the Jones Girls were singing? I didn't know that back up on that.
Yeah, that's them doing that.
We're getting ready. They're getting ready to do their unsung here soon.
Nice.
Um, Looking forward to that one. So that's great. I love them as well. Okay, so let me read music industry question. I've seen you live somewhat recently. Your voice is still as powerful as it was earlier in your career. Why do labels not recognize talent like yours at this stage out of your life? And that's from Eric Haley.
Well, I think that record companies are no longer what they used to be. That's why the game has flipped and it's really more of an independent kind of thing. And I mean, I get revolving. Things revolve. Things come back around, and they. But I think that because of the uh, the flow of new artists and the kind of music that the younger people want to hear. Because see, the problem is adult people don't buy music. I'm just saying it like it is. Grown up
Mm-hmm.
don't buy music like the kids do. And the bottom
Mm-hmm.
line is the dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But because I've been in the business, for some decades, and I have some loyal followers, it,
Right.
it helps me
Yes, you
to
did.
still, do my new music and get it out there and get some, get some appreciation and get some support for it.
Yes. Thank you for that question. Let me. There's another question, but I'm gonna wait until I ask this one until we get a little bit further along with this story. So you put your first R&B song out with Norman. Now you got signed a contract.
Yeah.
So what's next? What was the first? Tell us how it progressed from there. Your first single off of that, or your first hits. Let's move.
Yeah. Well, when I got the deal with RCA, it started out being a full album, and then they decided that we were going to do an EP. So the first single was a song called "I Am Somebody," which was
Mhm.
written by a guy named Kasi Gardner from Nashville, who happened to be a good friend of Dr. Bobby Jones. And Bobby Jones ended up doing a remake of "I Am Somebody" too. But that song, it took off. It probably went to top 30, and after that, I released a song that was produced by Al McKay from Earth, Wind, and Fire. This was when Al first left the group, when he first left
Oh, okay.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. So he produced a few things on me. And I had a duet, a single called Keep On Doing, very positive, inspirational kind of thing, which featured my wife, Genovia Jeter. And that was interesting because when I went in to cut the record, uh, they were trying to say, well, nah, man, you just go ahead and do the vocal. You just go ahead and do it yourself. Because
Mhm.
they weren't familiar with her. I said, no, I said, just check this out. I want you to check this out. And she did the thing and she killed her. She killed it.
Of course.
One of the best songs on the record, probably the best. And the problem was that both songs were like message oriented. They were telling me, look, you need to get a little more secular. You're not. You need to get a little more sensual and sexy and all of that.
Okay. Okay.
So after that, after that record had run its course, it came with another album on me, and that was when "Show Me" was introduced, and things
Okay. Here we
took off.
go. Show me. A lot of people have been asking about Show Me over here. So
Yeah, yeah. "Show Me" came after that first EP,
yes.
and that was written by uh, LaForest Cope, which I call her Lala. All her friends do. And Lala is the same person that wrote "You Give Good Love" for Whitney Houston. We used to live around the corner from one another in Queens, New York. And
Mhm.
I went around to see her because she had promised she was working on something for me. And, she teased me with "You Give Good Love." She played it for me. And then she turned around and told me I couldn't have it, because it was for this new girl named Whitney Houston. And, my face was on the floor. But she said, no, I got something for you. And then she played "Show Me," and I said, give it here, and that was it.
She made good on her promise, didn't she?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And we're very happy she did. That's what she did.
Yeah,
Okay. And so and moving further along, we know you've had several hits, um, and a lot of favorites are listed in here. And you know what my favorite is. So I'm going to move forward. If, in case y'all don't know, my favorite is "I've Been Searching." I'm just saying,
yeah,
but it's always been my favorite. But you want to tell us the story behind any of those songs in particular? Because we've got "Show Me," we've got "I've Been Searching," we of course we've only just begun. The list goes on and on. Here I go again. Which let's do some trivia, Glenn. Let's see who can answer. We want to come up with a trivia.
okay.
I had one in mind. Do you have any in mind right now?
Maybe who co-wrote "I've Been Searching"? Who was the co-writer on that song?
Okay. So, Unsung Tears and Glenn's fans who are joining us, we're going to do some giveaways. After this, we'll pick a winner. So, if you have the answer to that question, just post it in the comments, and we're going to go through and choose a winner based on whoever gets it right. So, Glenn's question was, who co-wrote "I've Been Searching"?
Yeah,
Correct? Correct, Jim? Yes,
yeah,
that's the question. Okay. So, I'll look for the answers, and this will be posted later on in a few days. We'll pick a winner and it'll be posted in a couple of days, and I'll get your information, whoever the winner is. The question I was going to ask is, um, There is one song that almost went number one, but did not. What was the reason? Who was number one? The reason why Glenn's song did not go number one, and what song was it?
That's a good question.
Yes.
That's a great.
So, so in other words, Glenn's song was number two, but there was a reason it was number two because of who was number one. So it tell us who was number one, which was the reason. I'm giving, so you have to do some research. And what was Glenn's song that was number two? So we're going to see who gets those. Okay, so I just thought of that one. I'm not going to tell you. We're going to see. We're going to see who posts, and we'll give it some time because people may view this afterwards, and you can still
Yeah.
post. I'll give it another day, and then we can go back in.
Do we need
Okay,
do we need another question?
we can do it later.
Okay.
We can do it now. I mean, we can save it for a little later. We're going to talk a little bit more. So we're getting some questions. I mean, some answers coming in. Um, so I'll repeat it one more time. Who was the co-writer of "I've Been Searching"? Correct? Is that how we worded it, Glenn?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And that's the first question. Who was the co-writer of "I've Been Searching"? And the second question, trivia question, is what song of Glenn's was number two? And why didn't it make it? Why did it not make it to number one? In other words, who was at number one? There's a reason. And if you research, you'll realize why we said that. So, all right. So anyway, let's we should make some people not be able to play, like people that have worked with you. But anyway. Oh, it is thundering over here in Atlanta. I hope we're okay because I'm hearing a lot of booms over here. Glenn. So,
You scared?
let's move along. Yes. So I'm gonna keep moving so we can stay here in case something happens. So, all righty. So we have gotten through the songs. We did a quick version of all the songs. Do you have a favorite song of yours that you like performing, Glenn?
I have a song that I just recently started performing that I recorded in the beginning of my R&B career, and I always thought it was such a great song, and for some reason I just never got a chance to play it, but I play it now. I play it as an encore. It's my way of summing up the night. Saying goodnight to all my fans. It's a song called "Thank You for the Love," and it's an amazing song. It's a song that I dedicated it to my father because I had gotten my deal, and he was at the time he was ill, and eventually he passed away, and he didn't get a chance to see the record come out or to hear the song or get to know it. But yeah, "Thank You for the Love" is a great song. So any of you out there, I want you to Google that song and check it out because it's an amazing song.
Yes.
That's one
Let
of the
me.
songs that I got a chance to do where I had like a 30-piece orchestra. See, we don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying, Keith? We don't, the joy of being able to do that, to walk into a studio like the Power Station in New York and have an orchestra in there, you know, just recording your record. That was amazing to me, man.
And there's a question, this is a good question from K. Nikki Thomas. She says, do you think there is room for power vocalists in today's music?
Yes, I do. I do. My problem is, sometimes we fall into the cookie cutter mentality, trying to fit in, because that's what people say you have to do. But I mean, to be original, do your thing, be you, do who you are. I had people, tell me one time, look, you singing that R&B song too much like you singing gospel. But that's what soul is. I mean, if that was a problem, Aretha Franklin would have never, obtained the greatness that she did. Ray Charles would have never did things that he did. Listen, that Whitney Houston, she sung big produced ballads, pop ballads, but it was that gospel thing in her that made those songs really just fly, that just made it come off, you know.
Yes. Um, I'm going to read some of the comments. Uh, Glenn has so many. Glenn has so many songs that I love, but at the top of my list are, this is from Gwen Bradley. At the top of my list are Round and Round, You're Sweet, You're Fine, You're Everything, Melancholy Fire, and the Forever Timeless album. Glenn and his wife Genovia vocally are a great match. We're going to talk about that in a little while too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Eric Ali says, this virus has changed the music industry. So, how do you think music will survive?
I think that music will have to survive for right now through the technology that we have. You know, I mean, that's what, you know, most artists have been doing. You know, that's what I've done. You know, I've recorded a couple of mini concerts, you know, right here in my home, in my living room. You know, and it's been amazing. You know, the appreciation that people have for that. You know, and they understand. You know, they want me to be safe. They want to be safe. But I'm gonna tell you, that's the biggest. For lack of a better word, that's the biggest downer. You know, me not being able to go out and hit the stage and play live with my band, and just see the instant gratification that comes from my fans and stuff, and they love it. And we've been living in a time where a lot of great music, live music, has been limited anyway. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
things have
yes.
really just taken off. I mean, my 2020 schedule was looking amazing. Just so many dates, and but
Yeah.
I pray that that will soon come back, because I love writing and working on things, but just to be able to perform for people, that one-on-one thing, that personal
Nothing like it. Yeah.
intimacy of that. There's nothing that can replace that.
Yes. Luther had asked, he says, Glenn, we're in this COVID-19 stage. How are you staying creative and busy in these times?
Well, I'm staying busy because I'm working on songs. I pick my guitar up, and I work on, different melodies and tunes that I hear, and I, work on
Mhm.
different concepts of songs that I want to do. Matter of fact, I'm in the midst of finishing a Christmas song now, which will be
Yeah.
released in November. I've done that. A good friend of mine named
Oh, nice.
Derek Allen, he produced the track for me. It's amazing, man. So, I'll be in, finishing up the vocals sometime next week, and I can't wait for that, because I never had a Christmas record before.
I know we talked about that before. I anxiously await that, Glenn. I do. And you have to come back and talk about that, close to the holidays. And
Right.
uh, yeah, that'll be really nice. That's awesome. Song King, or James Day, as we know him, says, what was the best decision you ever made in your life next to marrying Genovia?
Uh,
That's an
you
interesting
know,
question.
he would make it hard.
I know, you can think about it.
I'm gonna get you, James. Let me think about that. Let me think about
Okay,
that.
you can think about it. We can go on to some other stuff. Um, Kathy Sanchez, Uncle Glenn.
Yeah, Miss Sanchez.
I feel focus on. Okay, I'm trying to read some of these. Keith says, I've seen you live, and the age of your fans spans from age 20 and up. Why do you think you have such a wide appeal?
Brother, I don't know, but I thank God for it. It's like, no, I could be on social media, on IG or Facebook, and I can see young fans in their cars bumping my song, singing it. I
Mm.
mean, I've seen some youngsters that take and do like, you know they speed the track up, and do. these triplet type beats, and they're like, they're rapping on top of it. I think everything is about foundation. I think it's all about what you start with. If you start with
Hmm.
something that has a foundation that's built upon something, not just chasing a fad or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
and Keith knows what I'm talking about because he writes those kind of songs. Timely but timeless music. You know, if it wasn't for what was considered to be old school, I don't know what kind of music we would be listening to now because it's all of this new stuff is built on that foundation.
Right. Yes. And Keith says, Amen to that. Me too, Keith.
Yeah.
Someone says, was it Chucky Booker who co wrote I've Been Searching? No.
No, it wasn't Chucky, but Chucky is my
But
boy. Matter of
yes, go
fact,
ahead.
on my new album, I have two songs that Chucky produced. And matter of fact, uh, James Day, which is the Song King, is
Song
on.
King, yes.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
Song King wrote a song called Family Time for me. And Chucky and I have
Yes.
been talking about working together for a long time. And I said, Chuck, I need your help. I sent the song to him, and when he first cut it, I mean, Chuck is like the funkiest guy in the world. He's like a prince. I mean, people don't know the people don't know how great his talent is, really. So he sent me back the track, and it was cool. It was like it was so funky. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is what I want. This is what I want, Chuck. And he said, oh, that's what you want. He redid the track and sent it back to me. I loved it. So I called him. I said, man, if I was next to you, I'd kiss you on your lips right now.
Ew.
Look, you died laughing, man. I mean, because it was just that great. The
Is
fact
that
that he
good?
got me, and it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about any. It was about the music and the fact that he admired me and respected me as an artist. And then I feel the same way about him. So I got two songs on my new album that Chucky produced, "Family Time," and there's another song called "Cookout" that Chucky Booker produced.
And guys, it's really hot. When this whole CD comes out, you're gonna love it. I've heard it, of course, and it's amazing. And Song King has a couple on
Yeah,
there.
it got my first single, "Love by Design," which is a single that I did with Regina Bell. Amazing.
Yes,
We won Record of the Year with Soul Tracks. We hit number one vocal record on the Smooth Jazz chart. So amazing song, amazing writer.
yes. And so let's since we're talking about duets, let's talk about different duets you've done. Let's start with I don't know if it was your first one, but let's talk about you were my special surprise guest when I had Miss Dionne Warwick as
Yeah,
my guest on the Fans of Unsung page in our conversations, and you surprised her. She was very pleasantly surprised.
yeah.
And I don't a lot some people know about that duet, but some don't. You want to talk about that one and how that came about? And I love the story behind that.
Yeah, well, Dee and I, we did a song called "Finders of Lost Love." She had previously recorded it with Luther Vandross, and it was great. It was a great record, but she wanted a certain wanted the song to be in a certain key, a certain register, and she figured that if she took the key up a little higher, that I would be the one that could do it. And she and Burt Bacharach called my manager, and actually, this was the first time that she and Burt Bacharach had worked together in 11 years. So,
Oh, I didn't know that part.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is the first record they did after 11 years. So they set up a meeting, and Burt had a penthouse on 57th Street, in Manhattan on the east side. And of course, they invited us up, and I was in there, I'm, in, I'm in here with Burt Bacharach and Dion Word. Come on, man. And we
Yeah.
decided that I would do the record, and they flew me out to California. At the time, Kenny Rogers had a studio called Lion Share, and went out there and I recorded the record there. And then the next thing I know, they were calling me back out to the coast to do the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And through the whole process, Dion was she was so accommodating. She was so sweet, man. Just a beautiful lady, man. She
Mhm.
made me feel comfortable and calm. Because when you're in the presence of an icon, even though you might,
Yeah,
somewhat great talent yourself, it's kind of intimidating. But
I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, she helped me
But
settle down, and with Burt Bacharach and his wife Kat Barris Sager, who's a phenomenal writer. She wrote the lyrics, and Burt wrote the melody and everything. And it was just a phenomenal time.
yes, and that's another great song, everyone. If you haven't heard that, Google it. In fact, you could find that actual performance on if you Google. That was it Tonight Show with
Yeah,
Johnny Carson?
that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's Glenn performing with Dion. That duet is it's a beautiful song. And you've had some other duets. Of course, we talked about Regina Bell. That's a more recent one. We know you've
Well,
done
I had two
right.
with Regina. The
That's
first
right.
was called "From Now On." I think we recorded that back in '04. I think, I'm not sure, man. I did a duet with Gene Carn, and of course
Hmm.
with my wife Genovia. I've done several duets with her. And on the new album, I have a song. Well, the Family Time song is a song I did with my niece, Iana Crawley, who was Sunday's Best 2009 winner. You know, yeah.
Hmm. And that's one singing sister too.
Oh yeah.
Yana
Yeah,
Crawley. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Woo. Yes. This is one singing family. Um, is there anyone you would like to do a duet with that you haven't yet, Glenn?
I'm a huge fan of Layla Hathaway because
Mm.
I was fanatical about her father's singing. And in my time of trying to find myself, trying to find my niche, Donny Hathaway was a huge influence on me. So I would love to do a record with Layla.
Oh, that would be beautiful. And those of you who are watching, if you have never seen Glenn live, you need to see him. He does one of Donny Hathaway's songs, a song for you. And let me tell you, once you hear it, there's no turning back outside of the original,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people that sing that song. But I'm telling you, Glenn's version, he gonna hurt somebody. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
And
we stuck.
uh,
I even stuck More Than You Ever Know in there too. I do that sometimes.
I'm
That's
just
nice too.
y'all have to see it, but you got to see him live. You got to see him live to perform it, and he usually does it in his live performances. So you're in for a treat if you haven't seen him. When we get back to some type of normalcy in performing, please go see him and check it out. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
Glenn, I need to get through some of these questions. There's quite a
Okay.
few comments and questions on here.
All right.
Daniel Kennedy is saying, would you be interested in doing a reunion track with the modulations?
We have talked about it, and some of the guys I stay in touch with them, So it's all about opportunity, if the opportunity presents itself, and
Hmm.
I definitely would like to redo some of the music that we did back in the days. All of that stuff on the Fill of Fire album, and then the album before that was entitled "With the Made Up Mind." And I like to do that stuff because I was writing, songs back then, 14, 15 years old, man. It's just, I would welcome the challenge to take that what I wrote back in those days and make it relevant now. I would love to do that.
Someone is asking, says you're so fit, do you work out?
Hey, well, I was in a little better shape before the pandemic came. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, I work out when I can. I work out when I can. I bought a bike, so I've been trying to ride.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. I think I had a couple more. I don't want to miss any. Okay. So Luther has another comment. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Leander Palmer saying your music never gets old. Proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Demetria Ward, always loved your music. My favorite is At Last.
Mm.
Andre Wallace is asking, have you heard the remake of Show Me by Billy Porter?
I heard that song years ago. I heard that song when nobody even knew who Billy Porter was. I met Billy Porter way back in the day. Okay. And I'm surprised that the song is just not really surfacing. I guess with all his recent success and everything, you know,
Mhm.
it's kind of, reemerged. But he sung his face off. That's all I can say.
Okay. That sums it up. Someone is saying Tony is here. I don't see Tony Terry's here, but I don't see Tony's name. Tony, are you here somewhere? Well, hi if you are. Okay.
What up, T?
Um, Somebody said I might be about 70 when we get to see anyone live again.
Hey!
I don't know. Okay. We'll see what happens. That means you have to go online. You have to go live and sing it for them so they can hear it at some point, Glenn.
I hope it don't be that long, man. I need a paycheck, man.
So everyone, if you're commenting, make sure you give StreamYard access to your name so it will show up in our comments. We can't see your name if you don't say yes to StreamYard. That just allows them to show your name. Okay. So Miss Norma Jean is here. Norma Jean from Formers Ladies of Chic. She's singing with Chic.
Yeah.
She's here. Yes.
All right.
So hey, Norma Jean.
Hey, Norma Jean.
Okay. And my Kia says, who's my buddy Kia, who is one of your biggest fans, says your music showed me how to love again. Ooh, that's
Wow.
nice.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's deep right there.
Oh, man.
So let's. We only have a few minutes left, and before the last thing I want to talk about is the new single. So before we get to that, I want to ask you about. We've had some losses, and that's what Luther was asking as well. We've lost several of our Black music legends lately, and he was asking, did you have any connection to Betty Wright, um, Bill Withers, or anyone? And Aretha we lost a little while ago, but you had a special connection with her as well.
Yeah, I did. Betty Wright, I've known Betty Wright for years, and she's always been, very, inspiring and very positive, and she always, you know, uh, tried to say things to encourage me, in what I was doing. I've always been a fan of hers. She was a fan of mine. And as you know, I did some touring with her. We did a tour called The Legends of Soul. And
Yes.
it was me, Betty Wright. Sometimes it would be Angela Winbush, Lenny Williams. Sometimes
Mhm.
even I can't think of my other friend's name. She would come in and out of the package, but I enjoyed working with her, And one of the first R&B songs that I learned how to play on guitar was "The Cleanup Woman," So and we both, were Floridians. She's from Miami. I'm from Jacksonville, and it's a major loss. It's a major loss. Bill Withers, never met him, but I was always a huge fan, because of the soul and the rawness of the music that he did. The songs that he wrote was just raw. It was just straight up, and then the lyrical content was just so great. It always, uplifted you. It was positive, and it would tell a story. I mean,
Mhm.
think about Grandma's Hands.
Oh
With
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the song that my niece Yana Crawley won Sonny's Best with in 2009. Um, Aretha, irreplaceable. I mean, that was probably one of the greatest moments of my career, was knowing that somebody of that stature respected my talent and wanted me to stand on the stage with her at Radio City or at Caesars or fly into Detroit to do her birthday parties and all that stuff. So that was a very special time for me.
Very special. And um, Luther had also mentioned Little Richard. We just lost him as well.
You know, and this might sound crazy. I never met Little Richard, but I saw Little Richard when I was about 12 years old in Chicago at a music convention. I was on the road with the Bivin Specials, and they had a
Wow.
music convention um, at the Chicago Hyatt at O'Hare, and we snuck in. You know, we were staying on the west side, somewhere in Michigan Avenue somewhere back in the day. But we heard about the convention and we went out there. We snuck in the banquet room, and I saw him walk up on stage and play that night.
Wow.
Let you
And
go.
you still remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be in there, but you know, hey,
But that's okay. You got to see him. And I'm
yeah,
sure it was a heck of a show.
yeah, it was. It was.
Yes. So, Glenn, the last two things I want to make sure we touch on, because believe it or not, we're almost out of time,
Wow.
um, is, of course, your new single.
Yeah.
And I, everybody that can see me, some people might just hear the audio at some point, but I am wearing a special shirt because this is Glenn's foundation that I'm a part of, and I purposely wore it this evening. So let's talk about this first, and then we'll end with Trust in Me because that's what's the newest, and we want people to remember.
Right.
So, can you tell everyone about your foundation?
Well, the Love Jones Foundation is something that we started about 4 years ago. Was it 4 years?
Mhm.
Time?
I
And
think, yeah, I think it's cool.
yeah, maybe a little more. But it was something that I wanted to do in honor of my mother because she was the kind of person, she was giving, very giving, and she tried to help people wherever she could. And I remember recording some songs, some gospel songs for her to listen to, you know, in her alone time, and that meant a lot to her. So I wanted to do something to help or to uplift the you know, the forgotten seniors. You know, a lot of seniors
Mhm.
are in these facilities that, you know, used to be active in church. They were active in music. You know, you got musicians, singers, whatever. And I thought it would be great to be able to go in there and love on them and give them something, entertain them. So that's why we started that, and we also, you know, we catered to, you know, the young kids. You know, we worked in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Clubs to do some events with them. You know, we've done some work,
Workshops.
yeah, workshops and all that kind of stuff to kind of give them some direction. You know, to be able to follow, you know, their dream of being in the music business. You know, what it takes and different things. So that's what the Love Jones Foundation is about. We're about love. We're about giving where we can give and help it.
Yes, and enjoy doing it. And I have to tell everyone, Glenn goes himself. At least we were going till COVID happened,
Right.
and actually goes to these nursing homes and these assisted living facilities. And he takes his band and he just loves and ministers to
Yeah.
these residents through music, and giveaways. And it's just an awesome experience. It's such a blessing to them. I want to say that because sometimes people, I mean, it's okay to send other people, but people need to know where your heart is. And Glenn actually goes himself and does this, and they are so blessed. And we don't do a Glenn Jones show per se. We Glenn does some Frank Sinatra, some Nat
Yeah.
King Cole, and some
Uh,
gospel,
yeah.
and this is just a whole nother scenario, and it's really awesome to be a part of that.
It's fun, man. It's so fun. And
It's a lot of fun, and we take the band too.
yeah,
So, and I mean, think about it. How many of those residents actually experience a live band coming to them? So it's really an awesome
we,
opportunity.
we give them gifts. You know, we do raffles.
Yeah,
We raffle off stuff. I caught me a couple of girlfriends in a couple of those places. You know.
yeah, you did. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, it's not Glenn Jones, you know.
There's sweet little ladies in there
Yeah,
and dirty old men. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding. Anyway, okay, so I just want to make sure that's what the banner is for the foundation. This is my artist corner, as I say. So some of the artists have given some things to me. I want to always support our artists. That's what we're here for, to support you all. So I want to make sure people can see that. There's books, there's Larry Dotson's whiskey.
Wow.
And yeah, so different things that you all are working on, and we, the fans of Unsung and KAMDI Conversations, here to support you all. We want to make sure we do that. So,
Yeah.
so before we close, let's talk about this awesome new song with two of my favorite voices that I'm so glad the world finally gets to hear. Glenn has a brand new single out called "Trust in Me," and I'll let you talk about that, how that came about, Glenn.
You know, usually the songs, the music that I write, usually they come from experience. You know, they come from trials and whatever. You know, peaks and valleys or whatever. And just one day I got the idea for this song because sometimes, you feel like there's nobody there for you. You feel alone, and I always stay connected to my higher power. And sometimes
That's
we have to remind ourselves. And there's a song that says, "Encourage yourself." And I wrote that song to encourage myself. You know, to believe and trust that everything is going to be all right, and there's somebody
right. Hmm.
standing there, to lift me up. So when the pandemic came along, it's like, oh my
Hmm.
God, all your bills are due, feeling lost and confused. Where do you go? What do you do? When you see my hope is gone, remember you're not alone. He's always standing there. He'll wipe away your tears. Trials and
Yes.
tests will come, but
I know there's one.
there's one whose love will always be. He's there for you and me. I know he truly cares. You can go to him in prayer. He's your friend until the end. Trust in me. And that's what
Woo!
it came about. Yeah, yeah.
And it is a duet with
Yeah, it's a
my
duet with,
sister.
with your sister, Genovia Jeter, who we started singing together 40 years ago, I know
Wow.
I know she don't like for me to say that, because let me see. People start adding up years and all that, but I'm just grateful that it did start back then, and to listen to what we have done on this record, the fact that God has blessed us to maintain and hold on to the gift that He gave us, it's incredible. So it's called Trust in Me. You can go to any of your digital platforms, download it, and be encouraged by it.
Good. I'm gonna see if I can play any of this. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Cheese, everybody. Give them a little bit of this. This is Glenn's new song. If you haven't heard it,
Hold on with it.
all your bills are due. That better? Feeling lost and confused. Where do you go? What do you do? When it seems my hope is gone, remember you're not alone. He's always standing near. You wipe away your tears. Trials and tests will come, but I know there is one whose love will always be. He is here for you and me. I know he truly cares. You can go to him in prayer. He's your friend until then. Oh, trust in me through all your fears. Yeah. Trust in me down through the years, and I will lift you up to heights you never seen. Blessings you won't believe. If your heart is broken, you can come to me. Lay your burdens down. I will supply your needs. Yeah. Should I come to give you life? Give it abundantly. And all I ask of you is give your love to me. I will be there for you. Oh, your pain, yeah. I'll comfort you, yeah. You belong to me. No matter what the case may be, and no matter where you go, I just want you to know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, y'all
It's hard.
go and download my record. Give me
That's
that.
right. Where can they find it, Glenn?
They can find it on Spotify. They can find it on iTunes. They can find it on all of the digital platforms. And if you're looking for it, you can also go to glennjonesmusic.com. It's this record is on my new record label. I have a record label called Talent Room Entertainment, and it's an independent, label. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be bringing you great music from other artists, from Genovia, from Yanni Crawley, from a whole bunch of people. Michael Norwood is one of my artists. So we're gonna be bringing the good stuff.
There you go. Well, Glenn, I thank you. I have to give a special shout out to my sis, your wonderful wife,
Yeah.
Genobia Jeter Jones, who, of course, I love dearly. We miss her this evening, but we thank her for sharing her voice on this song, which is just
Yeah.
awesome. I still get goosebumps. It still makes me want to cry every time I hear that song. It just does something to me. It was hard for me to turn it off. I knew I had to, but it's just hard to turn that song off.
Yeah.
So, Zenobia, we love you. Hope to see you soon. Thank you for sharing your voice again on this song. It's a beautiful song, guys. Make sure you download it and be blessed with it. Glenn, we thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
If any of you missed this, we'll have it up on all the Facebook pages. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube, where you can find this at any time, along with the other KAMDI Conversations, which is under my name, Tanya Hawley, and follow the KAMDI group. Glenn, thank you for your time,
Thank
your
you.
talent. It's
Thank
always a pleasure. We'll see you again in a few months when you got that Christmas song out.
Yes, yeah, yeah, no doubt. Maybe we can. By that time, we can have some eggnog and listen to some Christmas music. Music.
That's a good idea. We'll toast with some eggnog.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. Have a wonderful evening. Come back and see us, and we wish you the best in everything going forward.
All right. Okay. Bye
All
bye.
right. Take care. Bye bye. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.